Welcome to the Overdrive Show. This is Ginger, and I am here with Ty Mans, who is behind this incredible new movie called My Brother's Keeper. Thank you, Ty, so much for coming on. We're so excited to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I mean, you're Georgia, right? I mean, this is a Georgia station you're talking to.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy to be here, and we're finally happy to have the movie out also. So yeah, thanks for having us. We appreciate you so much.
It's kind of like birthing a child, isn't it? Like you just get
Yeah,
so excited at every anticipation of like is and then then it becomes like that last trimester where it feels like it's never actually going to get to deliver to the public, and then finally it does. So I am fortunate to have gotten a pre-screening, so I got to watch it. I love when I've already seen the film so that I can also interject what I liked about the film. I am a really huge proponent of what this film is behind. Personally, it hit me about 5 years ago. I had a cousin of mine take his life because of PTSD, and I did not. Watching the way he had to live to cope, was very hard because he couldn't even walk into a Walmart. If somebody brushed up against him, usually that was enough to send him back to the car. Um, and it's, you know, I think it's depending on what happened to what person and during those things. But yeah, I mean, it just it touched my heart big. I cried mostly through the film, but and sometimes just in a great heartwarming way. It wasn't always sad tears. It was just it was an emotional journey for me. So I thought I would let kind of just open the door for you to tell everybody in your own words what is My Brother's Keeper, and how did this movie kind of come to fruition.
yeah. Well, thank you for those words. I really appreciate that. I'll try to tell stories that move people in many different ways, and I just appreciate the fact that the story moved you in the way it did. So thank you for your words. My Brother's Keeper is not just, it's not a story about PTSD. It's a story about a soldier and his journey to find answers. He's looking for answers. He's questioning himself. He's questioning God. He's trying to discover answers about tragic death of his parents. And it just so happens that PTSD is an obstacle that's in front of him.
Right.
So we want people to understand that, hey, this is, put it this way, we want people to come to the movie and be entertained because it is a movie. And that's what movies are supposed to do, is supposed to entertain us. Uh, but this is a movie that came about. I was on a panel last night, and someone asked me this question. I said, well, actually, this movie's been in the making since 1972, 73, when my father came home from Vietnam, because this movie is based loosely on uh, my father's when he returned home from Vietnam. And I was a 10, 11-year-old boy at the time watching this man who I had no idea who he was. And we couldn't figure it out. But now we know, and we came to learn that he was suffering from PTSD. So this movie has been in the making for a long time, and a lot of what you see and what you will see on this movie is lifted straight from what I saw as a little boy, and the outbursts and some of the things that I saw as a little boy back in the 70s when he came home.
And it's so hard to understand even if you're right next to that person. It's just so hard to grasp. I suffered a long-term abuse marriage, and that's one of the things they told me, was something that I had. And many different types of trauma have that. And I can see, because I mean, my patience, my my sensitivity was always way heightened. There's so many things that different types of trauma can trigger. And if you don't go to the right place for the right answers, it's an incredibly difficult journey. I will say that your man TC, like he just brought it home. I mean, I was angry when he was, I was sad when he was like, but I was also, I was so glad. I mean, when he smiles, he smiles, but when he's not smiling, he's intimidating. Like he had that great like combination toughness, but yet as soon as he smiles, he looks like, the friendliest guy in the world. Like so he has a great, his whole delivery was amazing. And I was like seeing some people like little Rudy Huxtable in this film and Joey Lawrence. I'm like, yeah, I'm back from that time and day. I was like, this is pretty awesome. I cannot look at her without seeing Rudy. I'm sorry, but she's
Yeah.
so beautiful and talented. And I mean, so did you have TC or any of these people like in mind when you were putting this together?
TC actually was the only person that I knew I wanted to be in this movie because the first day I actually met TC, we were on the set of A Question of Faith. I'm sorry, on the set of A Question of Faith, which is a story I wrote, and I've been sitting there that morning watching him, and I already knew him from War Room, his performance from War Room,
Yeah.
and I'm watching him that day on the set, and I'm going, wow, I think this guy could pull it off, and I'm thinking about this movie, My Brother's Keeper, because again, I wanted to write this movie for a very very long time, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it because again, for obvious reasons, being a story about my dad's life. And then two, I wanted to make sure that when I did do it, I found the right person that could play the role. And I'm just watching TC, and I'm going, yeah, he kind of got to see the same build as my dad was back then. He kind of got a few mannerisms that match. So we were standing outside at the crafting table later that day, and he walked up, and I introduced myself as I'm the writer for the movie. And then I just told him, I said, hey, look, I got this idea for this movie I want to write. If I do it, would you be interested in playing the lead? And he kind of appeased me a bit and was like, oh, yeah, yeah, go ahead, do that and send it to me. And even now, if you interview him, he'll tell you that he didn't believe me because he said stuff like that happened all the time. He said, people always say, hey, I'm going to do something for you. But he was like, yeah, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you write it, send it to me. Well, about 3 weeks or so later, I wrote that movie. I had written that story and I sent it to him. And he he called me back a few days later. It's like, wow, first of all, I didn't believe that you were going to do it. Second, I didn't believe. Second, I didn't believe you would do it so quick. And then third, I love this character and I want to play this character. And at that time, I hadn't told him that it was about my father. But so he was the only one. Now, Greg Allen Williams, I had worked with on A Question of Faith also, and I just had to figure out a way to get Greg. I mean, he's just such a talented actor that it's like, okay, I got to get this guy in another movie somehow that I'm doing.
Right.
uh, and then the rest, like Keisha, for example, we were going back and forth. They're like, well, who do we want to play this role? And Keisha's name kept coming up. And I'll be honest with you, I remember the first day talking about that. I said, there's no way we'll get Keisha Knight Pulliam to do this movie. I mean, come on, it's Keisha Knight Pulliam, right?
Right.
And they said, well, you don't know until you ask. So we reached out to her management, and sure enough, Keisha came back and said, I really want to be this character. And it just kept falling into place like that. The same with Joey Lawrence. Someone brought, hey, let's try Joey Lawrence. You think he'll be great for that? Joey comes back. I really want to be this character. Robert Ri'chard, Jeff Rose. So everybody that we sent the script out to for the first time came back and said, I want to be this character. So we were just blessed to come up with this incredible cast. And out of all of them, this was a movie that I can honestly say, for the first time in my life, that I wrote for someone. I wrote this movie for TC to play in. And
Well, that if you're gonna pick somebody, yeah, he's definitely somebody
oh yeah,
I would pick to play. It's funny because there's some people, I think you probably realize, like in the faith film circuit, you tend to bump into some similar people, and Jeff Rose and I bumped into each other. We were at Jen Gotson's wedding, and they we were like literally sitting right by him, and then
mhm,
I was like, don't I know you? and then
yeah,
and then later on, like, there was other films that he was in, and then TC was in Jen's movie called Unbridled, and
mhm,
TC, and he, you know what, he's my favorite film, Ernie Hudson, because Ernie Hudson can pull off he's like the same kind, he's got a very authoritative both voice and look, but then if he wants to be funny, like, or smiling, like, it totally transforms things. So, I mean,
yeah,
like, he really is incredible. Although I love Akeisha was amazing, and Jeff's amazing. I'm a little partial on that end, I suppose a little bit, but I was very happy to see him in there. I would like to know who was singing at the pulpit, because that guy was fantastic. He was like Larnell Harris good. Like, who is who is it that's
yeah, yeah. Pastor McFarland, Clint McFarland. He has a church in Atlanta. I met him doing a screening of A Question of Faith. He rented out a theater for his church to watch the movie, and they got in touch with me. I said, "Hey, if you live nearby, will you come down?" And I, of course, absolutely, would love to, and I did. And so after the movie was over and we were talking, he started telling me about this music he was writing. And if I ever needed music for anything in any movies, he would love to talk to me about it. And I said, sure. And so when we started working on My Brother's Keeper, I I had his information, and I said, I remember this Pastor McFarland telling me about his music. I would love to hear it now to see if we can match anything up. So I sent him an email. Sure enough, a few days later, he sent me all the tracks. And
oh
this is a true story. I got in bed that night. My wife was asleep. I put my earphones in. I hit track one. I'm listening. I go, okay, that's really good. Track two came by. I was like, wow, I like this song. But when track three hit and that song you see in the movie played, I came straight up in the bed.
oh
Woke my wife up. She's looking like what? And I'm trying to. I've gotten her up out of a dead sleep. I'm trying to stick the earphones in her ear, going, "You need to listen to this song."
oh
And yeah, but I knew right away as soon as I heard him open up, I knew that was the title track to the movie.
oh my goodness.
And
He
I did.
he
He is
killed it.
so beautiful. The
Ah,
song was so perfect. It was such because I already had this vision of what that scene would be like when he's talking to himself. Well, I don't give away,
right.
but that's just it. But and this song just, I mean, it just fit. And the next day I called Pastor McFarland and I said, "Hey, we need to start working on paperwork now. And not only do I
Well,
want this to be the title song, I want you to come and sing it in the movie." So the gentleman singing in the movie is the guy that's Pastor McFarland.
oh, wow. Well, I thought it when I was looking at the
Yeah.
credits, I was like, well, that's the pastor. Maybe he was like, lip syncing, maybe, or maybe I got the wrong person lined up with that song. But I was like, no, it looks like the pastor was singing that. Oh, it's
And that was the stipulation was that you come, you sing it for us, please, but you have to sing it live.
right. It,
So we recorded it live that day in the church with him singing it. Gosh, it's such a gorgeous song.
It really is. I know you talked about your dad being in the military, but we didn't talk about you're a military guy yourself and a military family, how you found your family, right?
Yeah, yeah. Me and my wife met after the first Desert Storm, Desert Shield war. She was in Desert Storm, Desert Shield. We were both in Germany, and That's how we met.
That's
So
incredible.
we we met in Germany, and then we ended up getting married in Korea years later.
Oh my goodness. So America was like it was
Yeah, and
way down the
I don't
line.
know who chased who. If I tell the story, she chased me to Korea, but if she tells the story, it's just the opposite. So,
We usually, I'll just say we usually go with the wife's opinion in
yeah,
these
yeah,
cases.
yes,
Yeah.
that's yeah.
uh,
Either way, that was 30 years ago, and we're still together. Thank
and
God.
your
And
children, is that right, are in the military?
yeah, our oldest son is a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps, stationed out of Camp Pendleton.
Oh my
And
goodness.
our youngest boy will get his commission as second lieutenant Army this year. So
Wow.
um, just so proud of all of them because I'll be honest, without them, there wouldn't be a Man's Mackey or any of these movies. Because when I decided to walk away from corporate America 9 years ago now, I told them this was my dream. I'm 50 years old. I don't know how much life I have left on this earth, but I do know that whatever life God has for me left, I want to do something now that I really want to do. I've given 24 years of my life to the military. I've given 10 years of my life to corporate America. I just wanted to finish whatever life I had left doing this passion that I had. And they all said, all right, we're in. Go for it, Dad. Go for it, honey. And they've just been my greatest supporters and my biggest fans. And I just love them so much.
Do you, knowing, well, with that entire military, you have almost your own infantry by itself. With all of that, have you been able to see ways that we as the church could do better? I don't see a lot of military centered ministries, and there's got to be a way for the church to have ways to that we can better support our people there. Is there ways that you have identified that the church can do to do better for our military and be there for them in the ways that we need to?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I try to be careful when I answer questions like this because I believe there are people and churches and organizations that right now are out there doing a whole lot. There's a lot
Right.
going on for the military. So I always try to answer that question that if there's someone out there, there's a church or there's an organization or an individual that just believe they could do either more or start doing something to help military families, or anyone for that matter, uh, do it. If you have the bandwidth, the means, the capabilities, and the abilities to do more than you're doing now, then I just ask them to do it. If you have that capability to start something, do it because I don't personally think you could ever have enough help
Right.
because there's so many problems, not only with the military, especially, but not only for PTSD, but financial, just support.
And
Think of our husbands and
reacclimating and
wives.
yeah.
Yeah, reacclimation. Our husbands and wives who have their loved ones go over deploy for months on end. I mean, sometimes it's just a conversation. How have you been? Are you okay?
Right.
What do you need? How are the kids? You just don't realize how far that can go to a military spouse whose husband or wife deployed overseas. So I'm very thankful for everything that everyone is doing out there right now. But if you want to do more and you feel like you can, yes, please do more. 'Cause more will definitely help for sure.
And so I know what I took away from this movie, but what is your hope that this movie accomplishes and how people like come away from this movie, what they take with them?
Well, there's a couple things. One, we definitely want you to be entertained because it is a movie, right? And that's what movies are supposed to do. They're supposed to entertain, and I hope that when you watched it, you were also entertained by it.
Absolutely.
And then two, you know, back in 1972, 73, when my father came home, and a few years later, around 74, 75 time frame, when he was at his absolute lowest. Uh, he could have made a couple of horrible decisions at that point, either to harm himself or harm a member of his family. But the decision he made was to walk through an open door at a church and ask for help. And what I hope people will get out of this movie is that it may not be an open door at a church. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But before you do the absolute worst, either to yourself or someone else, try to find that door that's open and walk through it and ask for help. Because my dad did that by just simply walking through those church doors that day. Uh, he changed his whole direction of his life, and we were able to enjoy another 35 plus years with him before he passed away. And he went on to become a pastor himself. Now, going through that church door did not cure him.
Right.
He still had PTSD, and eventually he made it to the professional counseling that he needed. But what happened during that period of walking through that door to getting to that professional counseling, it provided that bridge he needed to get him there.
Right.
And that's what I hope people will. If you're suffering from something and they look at this movie, that they go, you know what, I need to find my open door. Where is it? And walk through that and start on your journey to recovery.
And for some
And
of us,
those are the
yeah, I was gonna say for some of us like me, it made me want to be somebody standing at the door when they came in. Like
right.
it did both. I mean, but I that struck me more than anything is um being able to recognize the signs of whether it's somebody going through that or some other type of either grieving or other issues. Like it makes you want to be, especially right now it's really hard, but sometimes you can read Facebook and just pray for God to lead you. And there's so many people that I've asked people, are you okay? Like you've been on my mind lately, and that's been all I've had to say. Like
yeah,
and then
yeah.
the just gates of they just everything comes flooding in. So we gotta do better on the other side of that door when it opens. And I
No,
think we can
absolutely.
always do better. Until we reach glory, I think we can always do better. We can strive to do better than we did the day before. I am so glad to get to talk to you because I am a fan of yours, of your work from previous films. So I'm finally getting to talk to you, and I get to interview TC tomorrow. So I'm so excited. So I can't wait. And then I will be posting these interviews online. We'll be airing them on our station, but we will also post them up on YouTube, and we will tag your Facebook so people can hear the heart behind behind you and TC, just what you went through with this movie, and people can still go see it. Do you have a website that we can direct everyone to?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And tomorrow, when you interview TC, ask him, "Did you believe him?" He'll tell you. He's gonna all the
Did you
paperwork.
believe he's really coming back with a movie?
Yeah, yeah, he and I laugh about that now.
Or did
But
he say, yeah, yeah, get back to me on that one? Yeah.
but anyway, the website is MBK for My Brother's Keeper, MBK Film, FILM.com. And if you go to that website, if you go to mbkfilm.com, you can see the trailer, find out information about the movie. You can type in where you live. It'll show you the nearest theaters that are playing the movie. And also, if you're a church or an organization, you can sign up to show this movie at your church or at your organization. All the information is there about what we do for you in terms of setting everything up. And so you can show it right there at your church organization. And what we're doing is for your tickets that you sell, we're going to donate 15% of that back to your church or your organization so we can sow back into what you're doing to help people who are suffering from anything. We just want to be able to take some of this money we're making from this movie and sow it back into those organizations so they can continue to carry through with their missions.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out, Ty. Like I said, I was already a fan of things that you had already done in the past, so I'm glad to finally connect with you. And like I said, I mean, it does everything. It seems like it hit every emotion, from funny and happy to heartwarming to heart gripping. Like, Lots of good crying and bad crying, just a lot of crying for me. Um, but that's me. I'm already like that. But it is a movie that moves you, and it has an incredible more than one message. It's layered with different messages, in my opinion. And but think people will walk away taking from it different things, and that's the great thing about a movie like this. So thank you so much for everything, and I'll talk to you soon because you're
Thank
gonna
you.
talk to me about your next project when that comes around, and I believe that.
There you go.
I already believe it's coming. So whatever that next project is, I believe it.
Oh, we are. Matter of fact, 24 April, we will be in Arkansas. We start work on a lovely movie called Running the Bases.
Ah,
A beautiful faith-based story written by some guys out in Texas from Up to You Films. Uh, it's it's a beautiful story about a high school baseball coach and his kids that we start production 24 April on that, and we just can't wait to. They've trusted Nance Mackey Studios to come in and help produce this movie. We just can't wait for you guys to see this movie probably sometime next year. Really
hey,
something.
hold on. Speaking of that, you had one of your guys in this film from Coach Carter. I
Yeah,
recognize
yeah,
that
Robert
young
Richard.
man.
Robert Richard, that's right.
I was like, and then I second guessed myself. I'm like, is that him from? That is him, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then I had to look it up. I was like, that is him.
Robert is again just
He's so
another
good. Oh,
incredible performer. I will tell you this real quick because I know you have to go, but we were shooting the scene between. Well, you've seen the movie. It's the
yep,
scene where Robert and TC are kind of yelling at each other in the
yeah.
movie. But then I remember we were after shooting that scene. I got it from the monitors and I looked behind me and everybody behind me were crying. And I walked over to those two, and they were looking at me as I was approaching. They said, "So you okay? Everything good?" And I said, "Let me talk to both of you for a second." I pulled them off to the side, and I said, "I did not write that scene that good. I
Aw.
I just wanted to tell them that in private. I said, look, I'm just telling you, I did not write that scene that good. You guys were
Hey,
so
I'm a
great
huge
in
fan
that.
of both of them. They played
Yeah.
off each other so well. I mean, they were fantastic together. And especially and some of it they're joking around, like their camaraderie, but then the intense moments like that too, like they did extremely well together. And
Oh,
Keisha is just a ray of sunshine. You can't help but to smile every time she smiles.
no,
There's
they
so
were
many
great.
great people
Yeah.
in there, and Jeff Rose, like I said, I'm a little partial. Like
Yeah.
he did a
Yeah.
phenomenal job. He's a really
He
great
was
actor.
fantastic. He
Well,
is, and I tell you, TC, Blue Kimball, and Robert, the way they played off each other with Blue killing
yes.
that bad guy was just incredible. So I hope people go and really will be entertained by the
Well, thank you so much, and I'm excited. I'm gonna be on top of you about this next movie now. Now that you done told me
absolutely,
part about it, I'm ready, and I got a
absolutely.
whole lot of family in Arkansas too. So,
Oh yeah, well we'll be down there at Harrison and Harrison, Arkansas, Branson, Missouri, and
oh,
Bristol, Texas is where we're shooting this movie.
ah, how cool. Well, you have a blessed day and thank you so
So
much for
thank
your
you.
time. And go to
Anytime.
mbkfilm.com and find out more about My Brother's Keeper because it's fantastic. And thank you so much for your time today. And I will be talking to you soon, Mr.
All
Ty.
right.
All
Thank
right.
you for having me. God bless.